The Art of the Pivot is brought to you by Signavio.
Hello and welcome to another Art of the Pivot podcast with me, Mark Jeffries. Today we are joined by Kiran Akkineni, the Chief Marketing Officer for Zulily, the online global retailer selling clothing, footwear, toys, and home products as well. Zulily is headquartered actually in Seattle and is part of the Curate retail group, which also holds other well-known brands such as QVC and HSN. As CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, Kiran is responsible for helping Zulily build its brand and strengthen its customer-first mindset. Kiran's an experienced leader of large teams, as well as using advanced analytics to drive growth. Kiran, welcome. Where do we find you today?
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm operating out of my house. I think like the rest of us, and loving it. It's great to meet you. Great to be here.
And we're very happy to have you with us. And obviously there are upsides, aren't there, to working from home, but a whole ton of downsides as well. All right, let's get into it. So for those of us who don't know, could you tell us about Zulily? How long have you guys been around? What sorts of customers do you cater for? And what makes the value that you provide so unique? Big question, and it's all yours.
Oh, of course. So Zulily was founded in 2010. It was, one of the big flash sales companies to emerge out of that time. It was really focused on moms, babies, and kids. So flash sales site for moms, really focused on discovery and providing a great value for mom. It ended up over the next 5 years becoming one of the fastest retailers to reach $1 billion in sales over that time. It's been a great story. So today, we're still largely focused on mom. We've expanded beyond just the flash sales model, but certainly still focused on providing an entertaining shopping experience and providing great value to moms.
And talking of entertaining, of course, sounds like a little doggo in the background. You've got to give the doggo a name check if we're going to keep going, which we are.
That's Leo. He's our little pup, and I'm guessing it's either the mailman or a delivery man, at the door.
Any excuse.
Very cliche.
Right. Now, I've heard you guys talk about the joy of shopping. What does that mean from your perspective?
Yes. So, Zulily is very different from most other retailers. If you think about the standard e-commerce business, you come in, you type a search term in, like let's say a pair of socks or something that you need to replenish. Socks show up, you choose which one you want based on price and brand, and then you go about your day. We're really, really focused on that idea of serendipitous discovery. So you come to Zulily almost as a respite from your day and to, get a sense of enjoyment. If you think about, most moms out there, they have a lot going on. We want to provide entertainment and that sense of discovery and learning about new brands, as well as finding great deals for kind of some of the big existing familiar brands that they know and love. And so the focus is really coming back to the site each day, wondering what's on, clicking through, getting a sense of the new brands, as I mentioned, and just sort of learning more. And then, when the fancy strikes them, making a purchase.
So I'm going to challenge you on one of the words you used there. You said almost entertainment or entertaining. How is it entertaining? In the end, we go online, we're after something specific. We might have our eyes drawn to something we didn't realize. But where does entertainment come into that experience for the customer?
Yeah, I think if you think about how many moms and many people in general prefer to shop or browse rather than once again, e-commerce has really transitioned shopping from, an experience into really just a place where you come in and in a very utilitarian fashion, just choose what you want and make the purchase. We want to introduce you to new brands. I think there's very few people out there that don't love finding a great deal on brands they love or don't love getting introduced to a product or a service, be it a restaurant or otherwise, that they can actually go and tell their friends about or brag about, or where someone may ask them, where did you get that? And they get the chance to actually describe it and talk about it. So our experience end to end is really focused on that, right? Returning almost shopping to the things that made it fun before e-commerce struck, I guess.
I totally get you. And to be honest, even now, as long as there aren't too many people in my way, I just love to stroll around and just see things and just take it all in. So you're creating that online, which is very interesting. And I've heard also, and forgive me if my information is wrong, but that you open a new store every day. How is that possible? What does it actually mean?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually bring in about a third new inventory into our site every single day. So I mentioned that we emerged out of the flash sales boom in 2010. And what that means is we're bringing on all of these new big brands with great deals, so on and so forth. And we're offering those to mom on any given day. Those sales last about 72 hours, so 3 days. And after that point in time, we roll them off the site and we're bringing in new sales. So any given sale is going to last 3 days. And so on average, we're really rotating a lot of our available inventory. To put it another way, if you look at like the Costco's of the world, they may have around let's say 4,000 SKUs, available to purchase. And those SKUs are going to last, over the course of an entire season. For Zulily, we're talking about offering up like 9,000 new SKUs every single day.
Wow.
Just to give you a sense of the scale.
That's huge. And, you mentioned Costco. So I'd love your views on the retail industry. You're obviously doing something that's huge online, but the retail industry has also changed in a huge way over the last few years, especially with the pandemic. So how has that impacted your company specifically? What's changed? What would you say has stayed the same? And most importantly, given that the pandemic is training us to behave differently, what do you think will stay different in the future?
It's interesting. Some things certainly, haven't changed and likely will never change when it comes to shopping and retail. Regardless of the media and regardless of the times and macro effects, customer loyalty and engagement are always going to be the core drivers of a successful organization. And so for us, we haven't lost sight of the fact that we serve mom. And we need to ensure that she has the best possible shopping experience, and that is our mission. And we want to continue doing that, through pandemics, through her day to day, through the great events in her life, whatever that may be. We are an online, only business, and as such, with the pandemic, we certainly saw, major shifts in terms of customer behavior, especially on our site, and so a lot more customers that never would have been exposed to us, at least not right now, became exposed to us. The way I like to think about it, e-commerce and online shopping got pulled forward, let's say, by at least a couple of years. And so we're learning to engage shoppers who otherwise would not have organically kind of come into our site and make sure that we're giving them the best experience possible as well. I think a couple of other things, generally that have likely or will continue shifting. If you look at the last, 5 to 7 years, at least from a marketing lens, performance marketing was really a big focus, right? You have a few major platforms that have emerged, and a lot of businesses really valued, being able to optimize the heck out of those ads in those platforms and grow their business that way. You're starting to see a shift back towards brand building, loyalty, finding ways to really engage those customers over time and ensure that they get you and that you get them and that you're building that stronger relationship. So I see that continuing to shift as everybody starts jumping online. Performance marketing becomes less of a pure play advantage, and you're going to see a return to kind of the what makes marketing great, right? The brand building, the connection with a company.
I do want to explore brand building in a moment, but there was one other element to my last question I'd love to get your comment on, which is we're doing things differently now because we're working from home. We don't have as much freedom of movement as we did, and people feel safer. Do you think this is going to stick around when we come out of this pandemic era?
It's super interesting. If you had talked to me in the first 3 months of the pandemic, I probably would have said, no, things will change back. At this stage, I think people have found reasons why working from home, being secure, spending more time with their family, they see these really positive effects of that. Now, on the flip side, you mentioned it earlier, there's certainly a lot of reasons why you would like to work out of an office. You heard my dog, there's an alarm going out on the street right now, so on and so forth. And so what I think is going to happen is a blend. People will not fully return, just, eager to jump right back into the office. You're going to see a blend, which means lifestyles will change. People will invest more in their home and ensure that it's a place where they want to be able to work, so that they can kind of get the best of both worlds and operate in a different type of flexibility than ever before.
And when it comes to shopping, you think the same thing? People prefer to shop from home?
Oh, that's interesting. I think the shift to online was, or more online was certainly, like near inevitable. It's been pulled forward. It may slightly shift back after the pandemic, but I don't know that it disappears altogether. I mean, online is here to stay from my perspective.
Yeah. So you mentioned the brand and why it's so important to build it. So from your perspective, for an e-commerce company, why is brand so vital? And what are you bringing to the table in terms of your work on Zulily brand?
No, great questions. Hard questions, I'll say. I think with e-commerce, you don't have, let's say, a storefront on every street corner. You're not necessarily, building a direct relationship with your community. Like as stores, used to emerge. If you go back to the 60s, is like the Walmarts of the world were expanding, or even before that with Five and Dimes. We're at a stage where, look, the relationship is online. It's on a screen. It's on a browser. In order to really effectively drive that customer engagement and loyalty, they need to know that you're speaking to them in some way. So who is the customer that you're serving? How are you adding value into her life? And that can be through entertainment. It can be through your selection, your offering. It could be convenience. It could be whatever. But you have to have a way of, in a very short period of time, making it very clear how you are adding that value. Otherwise, that engagement is short-lived and the loyalty is unlikely. So I believe the second half of your question, please correct me if I'm wrong, is really what are we doing on the Zulily side to really focus on brand? Yeah, so great question. We are doubling, tripling down on our focus on mom. You're talking about the person that makes a lot of the financial and shopping decisions for a family. You're talking about a person that the moment she's reborn as a mother, has giving as a core part of her being. It changes her, forever. This is someone that I think we can be quite proud to serve. And entertaining her, as small as that might seem, on any given day is a mission that we hold quite dear to our hearts. So, look, we want to make sure that we're continuing to bring in the right selection for her. We want to make sure that we're relying on things like personalization and just direct outreach to ensure that we're curating the product, just for her. In a perfect world, we're showing her what is best for her based on this moment in her life, this season, whatever it may be. We want to continue bringing up offerings in terms of their actual experience that work for her. So, there's a lot of different ways through engagement and loyalty, methods that we are actively experimenting with, trying, and then getting her feedback on to make sure we keep honing those into the best possible kind of brand building mechanisms that we can.
It's a living and breathing experiment, constantly fine-tuning to get it just right. I love to hear that from you. I know, by the way, that in the past you've played a role on the analytics side. You've been a leader of analytics, and now, of course, you're the leader of marketing. I'd love your perspective on the connection between what analytics brings to the corporate table and how that mixes very nicely with the marketing effort.
I think analytics is, especially with e-commerce and in this day and age of data flowing through from everywhere, it's a core aspect of running a business. It's a key pillar, if you will. You don't want to be necessarily like so reliant on analytics that you ignore things like brand and customer relationship and customer experience. But I don't think you can run a business without it. These days. So from a marketing perspective, I think for myself, it's been so critical in being able to assess, hey, are we making the right decisions both on a day-to-day perspective as well as over a long-term perspective? How do we really understand whether what we're providing adds real value to our customers over a long period of time, or whether we're just sort of playing with the numbers, right? And so it really allows us to kind of get a sense of that stuff. And then for brand, which is almost always a long-term focus, it's kind of the slow burn, right? In terms of how it builds that engagement and loyalty, takes a long time. And so when you marry the two effectively, you can build a really powerful, lasting business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. You talk about analytics and data. I do a lot of speaking on the subject of influence and communication. And every time I'm in front of a tech audience, I explain how important storytelling is, even in data. Find the stories in the data, I say. And I know that's something that you feel quite strongly about as well. Could you share your perspective on storytelling when it comes to Zulily?
Oh man, it's a pretty broad area for us. I mean, I think both inside Zulily, as we're trying to make those best decisions for mom and have the best interaction and relationship with mom, as well as even outside of Zulily when we're looking to ensure that we are seen as an authority on all things mom and her experience. Data is a very powerful way to be able to develop takeaways and learnings, but you can't just throw a bunch of data on a page and publish a news article. People don't have enough time to really go through and suss out what it is you're trying to say, right? Even if it's as simple as, hey, what toys are moms buying over the holidays? You really need to be able to craft a story so that people can very quickly internalize what it is that you're trying to tell them and buy into it and take that why and really advocate for the message that you're pushing through.
And do you try and get that approach across the whole organization? Because obviously as CMO, you're marketing to the outside world, but sometimes that also means marketing to the inside world as well.
I mean, it's critical. It is very critical. I think coming from analytics and learning and honing and having made mistakes, the trial and error, I've seen when a great finding ends up just falling flat because people just don't get it. And I've seen where a very simple finding can drive massive change in a business, all because of the story that was told and how quickly everyone was able to understand it, and then mobilize off the back of it. So storytelling is maybe one of the most critical things you can do, both in a business, outside of a business. I mean, I think even as humans, really, I think civilization is probably built off the back of storytelling. So it's no different from a business.
From the earliest cave drawings. Very happy to hear you say that.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh my goodness, our time is almost up. So a couple more things. I have to ask you this. You're a global online retailer, but you compete with the likes of Amazon, Alibaba, and others. You're making a go of it. How do you go up against giants like that and still come away with some profit?
It's interesting. A lot of these giants, they focus on quite different things, right? If you think about where the company is, from a balance perspective, many of those companies are balanced in a different way than we are. So we are focused on that serendipitous discovery. I don't think you go to Amazon to, scroll through Amazon and see what's up, right? See what's new, see what's interesting. It's not a particularly curated experience, right? You go for the search bar. Amazon also is very heavily weighted to convenience, right? You want those socks, you land, you search for the sock, you hit buy, and it arrives 2 days later. You're often paying up for that experience, right? Be it through Prime or some other mechanism, and it can be quite expensive for the large majority of Americans, right? Like outside of the coast. We're focused on, our balance is in a different place. So one, that discovery, we have to make sure we're showing you something that's relevant, interesting, and engaging, and then price. And value. We want to make sure that we're driving the best value possible. So how are we doing that? One, we actually make sure that we're able to save on things like inventory risk and whatnot, because we buy the product when the customer buys the product. So although it may take a little bit longer to get to the customer, she's actually saving money as a result of it. So and many of our moms, right, actually value those savings over the convenience of getting something over 2 days. So long story short, I think our focus is really in a very different place from those other businesses, and it allows us to grow and thrive as a result.
I do love that you found this subtle differentiator, which you explained so well, and that's ended up becoming the niche. Fascinating work you're doing. Last question. Really, what's next? What's next for Zulily? What's next for you as we push through 2021?
Oh man, hard question. I think for Zulily, I'm really excited about the direction that we're going. Really excited about all of the learnings that we've gotten over the course of this last year. We are growing, we are hiring, and we're kind of making a big push in a lot of different ways, doubling down on mom, as I mentioned, doubling down on entertainment. And what that means is a lot of focus on the experience and that kind of long-term engagement. So that's kind of the story.
Fantastic. Well, Kiran Akkineni, we really appreciate that you've spent this time with us and given us a little bit of insight into your remarkable organization. Thank you so much.
The Art of the Pivot is brought to you by Signavio.